We are on page 535. We are in Module 10, Lesson 1, Volume of Cylinders. And before we can talk about the volume of cylinders, we need to remember what the area of a circle is. So the area of a circle is equal to pi r squared. Okay? And most of the time, people will say, if they're talking about an exact answer, you're going to have pi still in the answer, okay? If they want an approximate, we will be using 3.14 is what we will be using. Now, some of you on your calculators actually have a pi button, so sometimes your answers might be a little bit different than everybody else's. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is that volume, just in general, is the measure of the space occupied by a solid. So it's what's inside of it. Okay, so if we're talking about a soda can, or we're talking about a can of vegetables or whatever, the stuff that's inside of that, that is the volume of it. And a cylinder is a three-dimensional figure with two parallel congruent bases connected by curved surface. Now, that makes no sense, I know. I apologize. So what it's saying is you have a circle on top, you have a circle on bottom, and then you have these sides connecting it, just like a can. So when we're talking about the air or the volume is a lot of times represented by big B, little h. And what that big B stands for, what this means is it's the area of the circle. So you find the area of the circle first and you multiply it by the height. Okay, so that's pi r squared and you multiply it by the height. That is how we're going to be finding the volume of a cylinder. Now, this is when we have what is considered a right cylinder. So this is what we're going to do for just the normal looking ones, not the ones that kind of go off to the side or anything. We're just going to be looking at a cylinder that looks like this. Okay, so we're going to come down here, and as we look at this, okay, so the volume is equal to pi r squared h. So this is my radius, this is my height. So I'm going to plug that in. So I'm going to replace the r with 4, and I'm going to square that, and I'm going to replace the h with 7. Now remember PEMDAS, or your order of operations, and it says that you do the exponents first. So I'm going to do 16, and we're going to be multiplying that by 7. And it helps if you have a calculator ready to go. Okay, so 16 times 7, 112 pi inches, and it's always going to be cubed. Now, this is an exact answer, okay? So if it's asking for an exact answer, that's what you would use. But if it's asking for an approximate answer, we're going to take the 112 and we're going to multiply it by 3.14. And if I take that and multiply it by 3.14, you're going to get that it is approximately 351.68 inches cubed. Okay, so let's come down here and let's look at this one. So again, this would be my radius. Sorry. This would be my height. So I take V equals pi r squared h. I replace the r with 5. I replace the h with 8.3. So that's going to get me 25 times 8.3 pi. And I get 207.5 pi centimeters cubed. And if I'm going to estimate it, it's going to be 207.5 times 3.14. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to multiply it by 3.14. And I'm going to get approximately 651.55. And that's going to be centimeters cubed. Okay, same thing here. This again is my radius. This is my height. I have V equals pi r squared h. So I'm going to replace my r with 1.5, my h with 8. So I get 2.25 times 8 pi. I get volume equals 18 pi centimeters cubed. And if I was to do the approximation, I would take that and multiply it by 3.14. And I would get V is approximately 56.52 centimeters cubed. Okay. So down here, it says, find the volume of a cylinder whose diameter. Okay, so when we're talking diameter, that is 2 radii. So in order to find the radius, so if the diameter is 18, I'm going to divide both sides by 2, and I'm going to get 9 is equal to my radius. Okay, and then the height is equal to 20. So I'm going to come down here, pi r squared h. My radius is 9. My height is 20. That gets me 81 times 20 pi. So that's going to get 1620 pi, and that was inches cubed. And if I wanted to approximate my answer, I would take 1620, multiply it by 3.14, and I would get approximately 5086.8 inches cubed. Okay, down here, again, it has my diameter. It says that the diameter is 8 inches. So I divide both sides by 2, and I get 4 is equal to my radius. And it says my height is equal to 8 inches. So h is equal to 8. So V equals pi r squared h. This one I just noticed says in terms of pi. So we don't need to do the approximation for this one. So that's 4 squared times 8. So that gives me 16 times 8 pi. And I get 128 pi inches. Oops, that was weird. Come on. Inches cubed. Okay. So this one says a metal paperweight is in the shape of a cylinder. The paperweight is a height of 1.5 inches and the diameter of 2 inches. Okay, so starting off, the volume is pi r squared h. So pi times, because this is diameter, d equals 2 inches. That means my radius is going to be 1 inch, and then the height is 1.5. So that's going to get me 1.5, because 1 times 1 is 1, pi inches cubed. So we now have the volume of that. How much does the paperweight weigh if 1 cubic inch of metal weighs 1.8 ounces? So 1 cubic inch, 1 cubic inch is equal to 1.8 ounces. Okay, so what I'm going to do in order to find this is I'm going to take 1.5 pi and I'm going to multiply that by 1.8. Sorry, I need my calculator again. 1.5 multiplied by 1.8, and that's 2.7 pi. Okay, but it says round to the nearest tenth. So I need to take the 2.7 and multiply it by 3.14 times 3.14 and get 8.478, round to this nearest tenth, so approximately 8.5